Hello, Sherry Truler. Today I wanted to visit about some of the factors that I consider deciding whether or not an item should go into the live auction or remain in the silent. Now, I think the overarching factor always that most people revert to is fair market value, meaning that the most expensive items that you have, the most valuable items that you have, are the ones that should go into the live auction. And although that is an indicator, it is not necessarily the only factor that we should be considering. There's actually a number of other factors too. So sure, go ahead and put that down as one of the check marks. Is it a high value item? That would be an indicator of that. Yes, perhaps it should go into the live auction. But this leads me to the other point, diversity of items. Most of the time, your highest value items are going to be your trips. Somebody donates their vacation home. It's worth $7,000. Someone else donates their condo in Miami. It rents out at $6,000 a week. You've got someone who donated a house that sleeps a bunch of people down in Corolla. That's going to be a high value item, depending on the week. If you fill your entire auction, though, with vacations, that's going to be a really boring auction. And you're going to exclude those people who really already have their vacation plans set. So that wouldn't be a good plan, is to just put your high value items in, because chances are you're going to end up with a bunch of vacation homes. So diversity of items is something else to consider when you're thinking about what should go into your live auction. You want to have something that a lot of different people can find something in that list that appeals to them. A third factor is excitement. What gets people excited to bid on it? And sometimes these are not necessarily even high value items. I think of some of the schools that I work with where they'll have front row at the graduation. The graduation seats can sell for really high some years at certain school auctions. Those are not a high value item when you're just looking at the strict cost involved with it. In fact, in many cases, it's darn near free value, $0 value. But when you go to sell it, it draws a lot of excitement from those senior parents. The same can be true of front row seats at primary school concerts and so forth, or naming the playground or naming the driveway. Any of those, again, not necessarily high dollar value, but they bring a lot of excitement to the auction. The same can be true in nonprofit events as well. It just depends. Like, it could be a hot new restaurant that's been in your city and you're able to get into it. You've got the direct line for the reservations. Other people don't have that. That draws a lot of excitement, but it's not necessarily a high value item. Another one is political. So political, I'm referring to the fact that sometimes we put things in a live auction, not because it's the best item for the live auction, but politically it's better to do so. So this might be that someone has just made a huge donation for the Capitol campaign, or they're a solid donor year after year, and they donate something that you're not really thrilled about putting in the live auction, but you'll put it in there because of who donated it. I've seen rugs get thrown into live auctions because of that. I've seen services get thrown into the live auction because of that. So that's an example of what I mean by politically motivated. Is the donor attending or not? Another great question I like to ask. If the donor is in the room, I'm more likely to go ahead and put that into the live auction than leave it in the silent. The reason being is, hey, they're showing up, they're supporting in a different way as well. So I want to reward that. But it also gives us a chance to clarify the item if there's any questions, or a chance to sell multiples of the item. If the donor's there and they see how well it's going, they're more inclined to allow it to be sold twice. We saw this at this past weekend, actually, at an auction that I worked on Saturday. So this happens if they're in the room. If they're not in the room, you never have a chance for that conversation to take place. Similarly, here we go. Can you sell the item twice or 3 times or 4 times? So if I'm looking at a list and I'm trying to decide what goes into the live auction, and I know that these 2 items can be sold multiple times, whether the donor's present or not, I'm more likely to put them into the live auction because it's much easier to manage multiple sales in a live auction environment than in a silent auction environment. Another factor, is it a new item or has it been sold several times in the auction? I'm always a fan of putting something new in the auction. So if we have a trip and it's been sold for the past 7 years and we've got a new trip, maybe it's not even as high a value, but it's new, it's fresh to the audience. So in that case, I'm more likely to elevate that to the live auction. And when was it donated? Was it donated 2 days ago, or was it donated by the time that you had set for your cutoff? I'm always a fan of rewarding good behavior in that sense. So if there's someone who donated something, 3 weeks ago when you had your deadline and something else just came in yesterday, I'm more inclined to put the thing that came in yesterday, leave it in the silent auction. Don't elevate it to the live. You're encouraging bad behavior in that sense. So those are some factors that you can think about in addition to fair market value as to whether or not you should put something into that premier live spot. For other ideas, I'm going to encourage you to download this. It's free. It's on my website. It's the Pandemic Years, the Auction Item Guide, the top 100 items that I sold for overvalue in the charity auctions that I worked around the country over the last 2 years. Very popular resource. People look for that for their procurement meetings when they're trying to brainstorm and get some ideas going for what they should be tackling this year to keep their auctions fresh. Good luck to you in your benefit auction.